morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is Dr. Sarah Renee, your Limitless Liberator, who is here to help you to start inviting you to make a decision. I want to play something.
Question isn't can you handle the situation? The question is, can you handle your
That he's dealing with. This is not excuses. I'm just building up the platform with Will and how he has extensively, from his book through the videos that he's done, interviews that he's done, he has been sharing about the trauma and the challenges that he's had. And then with everything recently coming out, especially around the time of him promoting his book, all that has been going on with their marriage and all of that. So we have so many people who are joining in and sharing their thoughts, their views, their perspective, from, hey, you know what, that's their business, leave it alone, to diagnoses going on. And you know me by now that when it gets to the point where, we have now social media therapists, I need to come in and do a full stop and start to chime in and to support you. So I first want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for joining in. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here on this platform. And I thank you for giving me your greatest commodity, your asset. Your asset is your time. And I appreciate you for your time. So feel free to chime in the comment section. What are your thoughts and views with all that has happened, in particular with Will Smith and the whole thing with Chris Rock? I would love to hear from you. So interesting. I wanted to, again, I already talked about it. I broke it down in 3 parts. You can go to my post. Whatever resonates for you resonates. Whatever doesn't resonate, discard it. But my whole goal is to really look at teachable moments. What can we learn from this whole thing? Whether it's fake, and like one of my special guests that came on earlier, Coach CC Sharia Williams, she shut that thing down. She said, you know what? Let's say if it is fake, it's still wrong. What is the goal? To get the likes and the views and the comments, and to boost, the opportunity to promote tours that's happening and book sales, all that. Really, I can say from this standpoint, is it necessary to now go about it from a negative way? Why couldn't it have been a positive? Especially because as everything was going on throughout the Oscars, it's pretty much has been light and positive. A lot of firsts with people getting their Oscars. It was just really great. We had a lot of positivity that was actually flowing yesterday. And for this to have happened, it honestly has the propensity to overshadow. It has the ability and the capacity to overshadow. And by which it has. I honestly don't even remember who was the best actress and best supporting actress. I know, reigning from Philly and North Philly at that, Questlove received his Oscar for his documentary. It's like Will Packer was the one that was directing this whole Oscars. It's like it was so many things that were so positive. Beyonce opened up and, just like powerful song and everything. It was just so moving. So here's the thing. I was reading, did some notes, y'all. And I'll be able to look at your comments in a second. I want this to be teachable moments. What were your takeaways? What were teachable moments? Was it just, because what I want to do is invite you to look at it from a different perspective and different way. You may have found yourself in some form or fashion in the story, meaning as, say, a Black woman. You may have been like, you know what? Finally, Black men are supporting us. They're standing for us. We've been asking for this for a long time. We shouldn't even have to ask for our Black men to stand by us. So that was awesome. I thought that was sexy. I thought that was, hood. I thought that was, like gangster, that he really loves me, that he would defend my honor. You could have been on the side of, as a Generation X. I've seen these comments. Generation X, in terms of, how did this set us back in a way? Here was the opportunity to really shine Black excellence, and yet still presented the whole stereotype of black on black crime. You could look at it from another angle of, as the black man, well, it's Jada's fault. You know, why is he defending her when she embarrassed him in the first place? It's like, it just depends on which way you want to go with it. And I just invite you, honestly, to go a little bit deeper. And here's why. Let's go to basics. Basics are the following fundamental rules. You don't put your hands on one another. You don't put your hands on somebody. Because here's the thing, y'all. Now, the Academy is doing a formal review based on their rules, based on their guidelines. It's all taped. It was all live. So the LAPD had to be introduced in regards to whether, Chris decides not to charge or press charges for the assault. And we're like, it's almost like we want to minimize it. Like, he just slapped him. He touched that man. Yes, he was defending Jada, and the jury's out. And I already explained that in the video. If you want to know more of my thoughts about that, go back to one of my videos that I did at this time. I gave my opinion about that. Wow, it's like now it's a formal review. And it's considered as a misdemeanor. It's considered as, assault and battery. For you Gen Xers out there who remembers Roots, I remember a scene on Roots where Kizzy had she had an opportunity, this guy was sweet on her, and she had an opportunity to get married. And the guy had tried to stand up to the massa, right? And I think the massa even, I don't know, he tried to hit him and Kizzy, or he had just decided, the guy that was sweet on Kizzy, he decided to back down and just follow the orders of the master. And Kizzy was so upset about that. And her attitude, paraphrasing it all, was, you know what? He was weak. He was soft. You didn't stand up for us. Now, seeing it from that perspective, how disappointing it was for Kizzy to, like, if she's looking for her man to be, to stand, even in the name of death, even in the name of, us losing our lives, like, she was all in with that. From his perspective, perhaps he was like, look, I want to save my future wife. I don't want anything to happen to her or me. I want us to go ahead and play the game and play the role for us to be able to progress in our lives. Where am I getting at? My point is that there's so many different perspectives to see from this. And there are learning lessons and teachable moments in this. And what is the teachable moment? One takeaway from me is, I shared with you pretty much how my mindset is. Looking at the toxic, destructive, generational patterns that we have inherited over time. I'm pausing because, this past month has been interesting. Hey, bro, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in, Mr. Sims. I hope all is well with you and yours. I was in a process this month. I was reading the great Stephanie Mills' comment she posted on IG. And she says, I support Will Smith for supporting his wife. However, as a people, we have to stop dealing with our emotions through violence. Two strong black men on the biggest stage, and this is what people are talking about. When all you know is all you know, then you're going to default to what you know. But when you introduce a pattern interrupt, when you introduce a way of breaking up the pattern of what you're familiar with, what you are used to, because you think that's the norm, when you introduce yourself to a different way that your heart and your soul and your mind longs for, then perhaps that just means that, hey, you don't have to keep following after these toxic, generational, destructive patterns. in the name of your family. Well, as black men, and so I was listening to a couple of black men, and they were saying, like, you don't break the code. As a black man, you're supposed to honor, you're supposed to defend, you're supposed to protect. You don't talk about someone's mama or their wife, this, or their kids. But like Stephanie Mills just said, we as a people have to stop dealing with our emotions through violence. Why are we always dealing with emotions through violence? And now the issue is, for one, his legacy, his body of work that he worked so hard, talking about Will, is tainted. It's associated with him reacting in violence. I brought up the whole thing about Roots with Kizzy and the guy because a lot of us as black women definitely want our black men to stand by us. I'm in that number. It's a beautiful thing when our men have our back because of what we go through as black women. But unfortunately, I just can't ride with this one just because we seem to feel like we barely have any black men that we can say are having our back, or it's not enough, or we wish that we had more. And so now we're just trying to pull this one in and milk it for what it's worth. I was reading someone's comments about that. They was like, you know what? As a black woman, I feel good that, Will stood up for Jada, even though it wasn't about her. So therefore, it nullifies it. It nullifies it then. We can't use this as an example to say that our black men were defending our black women. Can't. If we all know that it was deeper than that. And respectfully and unfortunately, it was deeper than that. I didn't see Will defending Jada. I didn't see that as him defending her. I saw it being about him. And you can always reference that to his interviews, to his book, if you haven't read it or did the Audible. The fact that when he has an issue when it comes to, being in that fight or flight mode, when he has an issue of feeling scared, being punked, perhaps. And he shared instances of what his reactions were to have that type of power that can really impact people. He realized that he had a gift. But here we are at your biggest moment. Perhaps it was just too many emotions that were going on to the point that he self-sabotaged. And the fact that while he does a lot of inner work and he shares that on his pages, on his interviews, on his videos, if you follow him, I realized, as I was about to say, in terms of, the inner work that I had to do this month alone, it was perfect timing too. That even with me being a clinical psychotherapist, licensed and all that, and, having my doctorate degree and all of that, and helping people all over the world for as long as I have, there's still inner work that has to be done. So this isn't a place of judgment. And I wish that we would stop doing that. And then I'll check your comments, everybody. I wish we would stop doing that to dismiss or diminish or refrain from checking people, as opposed to saying that, oh, we're just judging, because we all make mistakes, we're all human. But in human decency, automatically we're supposed to be kind to one another, not put our hands on each other. You got to understand how this works. And I think it's high time. One of the lessons that you take away is you now have to work on, how do you control yourself? How do you let go of the toxicity, as opposed to thinking that you need to honor it and hold on to it because, hey, this is what we do. This is what we learn. This is what we know. Does that make it right? How is it working for you? At the end of the day, if, let's say for face value, he was defending his wife, talking about Will with Jada, but now there's a risk. There's a risk to his livelihood. There's a risk to his legacy. There's a risk to his lifelong body of work because of that decision. And so if, as black women that's listening to this, at the sound of my voice, are like, you know what, have that Kizzy attitude and be like, you know what, but in the name of, chivalry, in the name of defending and honoring, you do what you have to do, then more power to you. This isn't a judgment. That is where it's not a judgment. Whatever rocks with you is whatever rocks with you. Whatever you feel is best is whatever you feel is best. For me and mine, I think more longevity. I think more of how is this going to impact? And yeah, again, we all have our breaking points. And I think for Will at this point, it was a breaking point. But I don't think it was based on Jada in terms of honoring her and defending her. We all have our breaking points. And understand this, that even in our breaking points, there are consequences. So he has to figure out how he's going to get through this. But here's the thing, the saving grace that I see for Will and for anybody who ever go through or experience something similar to this is that now the secret, the open secret is out. And what does that mean? The open secret is out. For all the stuff that he had to bottle up, that was like a powder keg that was happening, it's unleashed now. The secret is out about their marriage and how they had an open marriage. The secret's out about Jada, with August. The secret's out. He doesn't have to hide. He already knew. Wow, what's amazing is that we know how to function in the dysfunction. He knew how to build around the dysfunction. And now what's interesting is it's called secondary gain. Sometimes when we go through matters that are so dysfunctional and toxic and immature and just downright flat out just insane, what's interesting is that there's a gain to be had from it that keeps us doing the same stuff, that keeps the cycle going, that keeps the pattern going. You have to understand, looking at your life, if there's things that you're like, okay, you know what, I don't want this in my life, I need to cut it. This is not what I want to do. I really want to do X. I really want to gain Y, but Z is holding me up. I really don't want to be like this. You got to look at what is the gain? What is the benefit of you holding on to it? Example. Many people are pitying Will. They're siding with Will. They're defending Will. The secondary gain in this is justification, being pitied, playing the victim, gaining more sympathy. So where's the need to change the toxic, destructive, unhealthy pattern if the gain is greater than you losing that benefit and having to actually the heck grow up, having to actually live by your words? When he said, and I get that thing, someone said this, we can preach to each other all day long. I can preach to you all day long, but then it's another when I have to apply the very thing that I'm preaching to you. And what is interesting is that I already have loads of writings before all this has happened, because I had to go through my own process and still work on me and do inner work, regardless of the title and the position that I hold. But that doesn't take away from my ability to help you. So in turn, the teachable moment is it's time to start cutting away and letting go of these destructive, dysfunctional patterns and cycles and ways and behaviors that we are so accustomed to. When it costs your livelihood, your lifestyle, your way of living and well-being. That was assault and battery with the state of California. The Academy is now doing a formal review and seeing what rules were broken. All in the name of, let's say for the point, defending Jada's honor. And so let me read your comments, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Hey Jen, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it, everybody. I just really want us to kind of do better, think better. And I think here's the thing, this is what I teach my clients all the time. We have to be consistent in our inner work and our growth. Because there are people who have the constraint, who have the control when times get tough. Yes, we have all our breaking points, but we can't use that as a crutch to say, okay, that's synonymous with saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to get married, but my fallback cushion is that I can always get divorced if this guy, mess up, if this woman messes up. When we take that cushion away, then that turns us on even more. That turns us up even more to really do our due diligence, to do everything necessary to maintain our marriage. So when we remove the crutches and the fallbacks away and we get all in and serious, and not saying that he wasn't serious in his work, it's just that when I tell my clients, it says it in the Bible, get this part. Prepare for war in time of peace. Prepare for war in time of peace. Prepare for war in time of peace. Don't ask me where that is. I will look it up and I will post it for you. Prepare for war in time of peace. Don't wait until it's wartime. You want to prepare. You prepare when everything is fine. You prepare when no one's watching. You prepare when no one's looking. You prepare in silence. So then when it's time to perform, when it's time to shine, when tough times happen, then all that preparation that you've done in between will show itself and help to reel you in and contain you and hold you. It was beautiful to see how the black men and all the men, Bradley Cooper came in. You had Denzel, you had Tyler Perry. They came in and checked on Will, but did anybody check on Chris? I didn't see any of that. But yeah, they were checking on him. And I think that's what I want to leave with you all, is someone had posted on Instagram, and let me pull y'all up and see if y'all are making any comments. Someone posted on Instagram, they was like, so his ex-wife, Cherie, to my Will's ex-wife, was like, she was holding on to the Oscar with Will, and she was like, family first. When we win, we all win. And then of course some people chimed in and said, okay, well, when we lose, we all lose, right? When we're shamed, we're all shamed, right? And someone was like, you know what? Yeah, they may have felt the pinch, but you're supposed to support, uplift, and continue to push us through. Here, as I think that is missing, the key point that was missing in all of this is accountability. We can support and uplift each other all day long. So another takeaway from this is start holding yourself accountable. Start taking on the accountability. As much as it may hurt, as much as it may bruise your ego, as much as it may have you spiral down and feel like you're good for nothing. See, your mama, your daddy, your grandmama were all right. You're good for nothing. You'll never amount to nothing. I'd rather for you to go through that initial breaking point to get to the other side, to now shut away and no longer have an interest in that type of living and lifestyle that doesn't have to be lived anymore. We don't have to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. We don't have to keep being insane anymore. It's time for us to create new healthy patterns and behaviors. We have to now create a whole divine design, so to speak, that is positive, that is healthy. It's later for the toxicity. It's later for the unhealthiness. We all, for most part, from what I've read throughout the day, people can see that Will's issues were glaring. And I think the saving grace is that now that the secret is out, it gives opportunity for him to not hide behind anything anymore. And it's time for him to take accountability. He will be healthier and better and whole for it. And not just for him, but for the legacy that he has created. So this is redeemable, I believe, for the people that he has inspired, for the young people who look up to him. I was reading another post where people like, wow, he impacted a lot of, millions of kids. And now what he did was he showed them that it was okay to put your hands with someone. It's like all of that because, okay, we're defending your wife's honor. Let me tell you, Jada, she has therapists. She does inner work, and she's from B-More. I know that this may not have anything to do with anything, but I feel like she was tough. That when she responded or reacted, like gave the side eye, rolled her eyes, whatever, like She probably was like, you know what, Will, you and I, we're gonna take care of him in the alley, man. We're gonna handle him after the awards. You know, I'm not trying to minimize her plight and what she's dealing with. And I left that on one of the posts in regards to how impactful it can be to have alopecia and the psychological ramifications behind it. It shouldn't be minimized. And it actually gives way for people to now get more familiar and more women sharing their story about the challenges that they've had with alopecia, and it gives a platform for it. So some good things can still come out of this situation. More education, more of us doing better, more of us letting go of those cycles and those patterns, those destructive, unhealthy, toxic patterns that we do, so that it doesn't have to be costly. Because then if that's the case, he doesn't win. All of that work, all of your life, all that you've gone through, all that you've done, all that you've been through, for it to be gone just like that, or be at risk just like that. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I defended my wife's honor, but then we don't have our home, we don't have our lifestyle, we don't have our luxuries, we don't have this, we don't have that. Is it worth it? A lot of people, y'all may say, because y'all weren't in his situation necessarily, or you may not have the money and the lifestyle that he has, you could be like, yeah, it's worth it. I don't know, y'all. What's your thoughts? Please talk back to me. Let me check in the comment section. What's your thoughts? What's your feelings? I always tell my clients that. What's your thoughts? What's your feelings? Leave it alone. So that's all I have. Takeaways, accountability. Let's start changing the narrative. Let's start doing different to get different. Let's start leaving these negative, unhealthy, destructive, toxic way of handling situations behind us. That doesn't take away from your strength or your manhood, your masculinity, or your position. Although I know that maybe you just don't know, well, then you don't know or is familiar. And please don't even downplay or diminish that, oh, well, like it's like an absolute. Well, if I'm not like this, then that means that I'm being white. And that means I'm being soft. I'm being a punk. I'm being this. Why? It doesn't have to be that. You can have all. You can have it all. You can have the best of both worlds. You can not. You can be healthy. You can be positive. You can be even more powerful. You can be even more successful. You can be even more impactful. Because the image that he has portrayed, the brand that he has built, talking about Will, gave that light. Where he was really regarded, as a great human being because of the brand that he built in terms of positivity and being clean. All, in terms of how he would, convey raps and all of that. All of that work to be diminished in a slap. The question is, how is that serving you? Let's say time out for functioning in the dysfunction. And let's do something different to get a different result. Let go of the secondary gains. How about the primary gains that you can get? Having your legacy intact, having your lifestyle, your living, your legacy, your well-being, your livelihood secured. That's more gainful to me, in my opinion, without the threat of losing it all by said honoring my loved one. Because here's the thing too, and I'm not going to say any more to this. It has to be consistent. The behavior has to be consistent. You can't defend someone's honor now and it wasn't being defended before just because, or because, I'll take the word just out of it, strike that out off the record, because, your wife was with someone else. Please don't dare put this on Jada. Because as he said in the video that I started with, it's not about the situation, it's about your mind, controlling your mind. It's about you at the end of the day, you being held accountable for your actions. Everyone, all of us. It's not a matter of saying and shucking it on someone else. Well, they did this and they made me do this. No, You chose. I said earlier, jokingly, the devil is tired of his name being in everybody's mouth too. He is tired of everybody hiding behind him. Don't have us now take the fame and the light and the shine when everything is great and we look great. But when everything's bad, now we want to put it on the devil. No, take accountability and ownership. So I leave you with this, and I really will leave you with this. Remember who used to watch or who watches the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Not talking about the new version, talking about the old one. There was a scene, and this is what I leave with Will. If you ever get to see this video, I think that he needs to put this on repeat forever and a day now as he continues to do the inner work and the healing that he now can have, because the secret's out. There's no need for him to hide behind or build around the dysfunction. And while that may be very scary, to not know, well, how else to live or react or be if you let go of the dysfunction and actually start learning how to function healthily, function, without the toxicity, function right, without it being a threat to your lifestyle, your livelihood, or your well-being for you and your family. There was a scene where he had, I guess, some type of drugs or something, and Carlton got into it. Carlton went to the hospital. Was it pills or something? Who knows what I'm talking about? Put it in the comment section. But it was Will's, whether it was pills or whatever it was. And Will finally, so everybody kept praising Will about how he was there for Carlton or something to that effect. And so it got to his conscience. And so he finally fessed up. He was like, no, that was mine. He talked to Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil, God bless you. Rest in peace, Uncle Phil. He needs you right now, Uncle Phil. He had fessed up to Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil was like, what? It was your fault? And so he called him to the carpet. He called the family. And at first, I thought that was so wrong. Honestly, initially, when I first looked at the scene. I'm like, man, that my therapist side of me was like, oh, that was so wrong. But he called him to the carpet. He held him accountable. He had Will to confess what he did in terms of Carlton. So what Uncle Phil did, he held him accountable. That's what we need in our community. More accountability. And later for that, in terms of we always hold ourselves accountable. If we were, will we have the problems that we have? Stop putting it on the man. Stop putting it on. Well, we don't have what they have, and we need reparations. That still doesn't even, it's still a cushion. We're still holding on or hiding behind or falling back on. While it can be justifiable and true, how is that serving you? How is that serving you in your lifestyle right now? How is that serving you right now? How is that serving you for your legacy? How is that serving you? So we need more accountability because it's not showing up enough in our community at all. What we'll do is we'll cover it up like we always have been, because that's all we've known to do all of our lives for centuries, for generations. And it's time for us to no longer do that. Our ancestors did not do the things that they've done. They did it because of survival. They did it because they wanted us to live. They wanted their seed, their legacy to live. They did whatever they had to do, but that does not mean that we need to continue to keep living like that and reliving the story and reliving the narrative. When does the narrative end? With having to survive because of the man. We have people who have proven otherwise, like these two rich black men that was on that stage putting their hands, or at least one of them putting their hands on the other. God darn. Now I know it's time for me to end when I start secondhand cussing. But dang, it makes me think about Malcolm X and what he said. What does a white guy, what does a white man call a black man with a PhD? A Negro. We need more accountability in our community. It's not about just covering it up and hiding it and pushing us through and not dealing with the trauma that accumulates over years. That's a lot of years of accumulated trauma that Will has. So I'm just waiting for them to call me. I'm just waiting for them to go ahead and fly me out, buy my ticket, fly me over there, take care of my hotel stay. That's all that is. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate it. He said it was the Will's pills in his locker, but Carlton found them, took them, and went to the hospital because of it. So Uncle Phil called him to the carpet, held him accountable, and then what he did after that, he loved on him. He restored him. That's what we need in our community. To let go of functioning with the dysfunction. To start considering and start preparing for war in time of peace. Start working on yourself. Do the inner work. If you need help, that's why I'm here. Feel free to reach out to me. That's why I'm here sharing this with you. And that in hopes that you share this out with other people. You have to start looking at letting go of those unhealthy, destructive, psychological, generational patterns and cycles that we no longer need to do and follow after and pattern after. We need to dare be courageous to create a new way so that our legacy, our seed, people after us, the kids, the young adults will have a better example to follow. It's time. And we definitely have to hold ourselves accountable. And that's the only thing I'm calling Will out on is to stop putting it on everything and everyone when it doesn't look good. It's time to start holding yourself accountable and being accountable and taking accountability for what you've done in everything that you do, good, bad, and indifferent, so that perhaps you can start getting the healing fully and completely and create a new way of how to function in life without any threat of your life, your lifestyle, and your livelihood and well-being for you and your family. So I thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for watching it live or the replay. Those are my thoughts there. What are yours? What are your takeaways? What did you get out of this? It's all good. It's no harm, no foul. Feel free to share your thoughts about this whole ordeal. And we as a people will get to the other side. Oh, thank you so much, y'all. Y'all take care and thanks again. Bye.